Hi guys, so today we're going to be doing parallel lines and transversals. Before we get started with our first example, we're going to look at some definitions here. Okay, so the first one is parallel lines. That one you should be very familiar with. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. Okay, so it means they're on the same plane, but they don't intersect. Okay, this is the symbol that you're going to see for parallel to. If it's drawn in a picture, it's going to be displayed by arrows, or the same number of arrows if we have more sets of parallel lines. Okay. Similarly, two planes can intersect as well, or they can be parallel. Right. The example is like two floors in a building, right? Or like this. These are two planes that are parallel. Okay. And then the next one is skew. This one might be new to you, but skew lines, they also don't intersect. However, they are not on the same plane as each other. Okay, so an example of skew lines would be like my yellow highlighter and my green highlighter. My yellow highlighter is just going straight up and down, and my green highlighter is horizontal here. They're not on the same plane. Even if they went on forever, they would still not ever intersect. Right? But they're not on the same plane. My green one has a plane that's flat like this, and then my skew line has like a plane that's going this way. Right? Right, so that's an example of skew lines. Okay. And then our other word that we're going to have later is transversal. And what a transversal is that it's a line that intersects two or more lines on a plane. Okay. So example, we have two lines here, and then this is a transversal. It's intersecting these two lines. Okay. Oftentimes you'll see this in the next lesson, is that we often talk about a transversal intersecting two parallel lines. Okay. But we're not going to do the whole parallel thing today. So our definition is just that it intersects two or more lines. Okay. So let's get started with example 1. Okay. So we want to name all planes that are parallel to plane ABG. Okay, so plane ABG here is my top one here. We want to name the plane that is parallel to it. And so since this is a prism, the plane parallel to it is the plane on the bottom. Okay. You technically only need 3 letters to name that plane. But I'm just going to name all of them. I'm just going to name it plane HEDC, so you know which one I'm talking about. But technically, you can use any of these 3 letters only to name the whole thing, right? So that's why the book calls it plane CDE. We're talking about the same plane. Okay. Next question asks us to name all segments that intersect segment CH. So segment CH is here. Okay. So all segments that intersect it. So BC intersects it. Okay. GH intersects it. EH intersects it. Okay. DC intersects it. And EC here intersects it as well. Okay. And technically, we know that through any 2 points there is a line. So technically, even though there are ones that aren't drawn, they can intersect CH as well. But we're only going to go with the ones that are drawn here this time. Okay. Right. Last part of example 1. Name all segments that are skew to BG. Okay, so here's BG. Right. So skew. Right. So EF is skew. Right. AD is skew. Okay, so those are all my vertical ones. GH and BC are not because they actually do intersect it. HC would be considered parallel to it. Okay. ED would be considered parallel to it too. There's a plane that goes through it, right? So it's like this and this. right? They're still parallel, even though my pen right now is higher. There's still a diagonal plane that would make them parallel. Okay. FG isn't, AB isn't. However, EH is, because how it is it's like this, and then it's like this, and then there's one higher, right? So they are not intersecting, they're not touching each other because this one's on a higher plane. Okay, and then same thing with DC. Okay, I feel like I forgot one, so this, not that one, not that one, no. Okay. And then last one is this diagonal one here, CE. Okay. The reason why is because it's like this, and then GB's up here on top. Okay. So skew means they're not on the same plane, but they don't intersect. Okay. So why don't you try check your progress 1, name all segments that are parallel to EF. Okay, you should have gotten GH, BC, and AD because EF is this one that's vertical, and so AD, BC, and GH are also that vertical. Okay, so the next part is identifying transversals. So some of the runways at O'Hare International Airport are shown below. We want to identify the set of lines to which each line is a transversal. Okay, so the first one here is line Q. Okay. So line Q is a transversal to line R. It's a transversal to line P. And eventually you can, no, I guess that's all. Yeah. And then here, if line L here was extended, it would also be line L. Okay. And then also same thing here. If N was extended, Q would also hit line N. Okay. Next one here, we have line M. So here's line M. Okay. It is a transversal to line N, L, and P. We can really see it. Line N, line L, line P. And then here we can see, oh, if M was continuing this way, M were to continue, beep, 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 and line R was to continue here, line M and R would also intersect. Okay. Next one is line N. Okay. So line N is this one. You can imagine it keep going. Okay, so this one intersects L here, M here, and P. So line L, line M, line P. And then I think it's parallel to R. Okay, and then here we can see if Q were to continue and N were to continue, it'll also hit line Q. Okay. So why don't you try line R here and then come check the answer. Okay, you should have gotten line Q, L, P, and M. Line Q, it would intersect here. Line L, if it continued, it would intersect here. If line P continued, it would intersect here. And then if line M continued and line R continued, it would intersect here. Okay, so there you go. Okay, and then the next part is these angle relationships. Okay, so if you look at page 144 here, it has relationships. Okay, so here I have a pair of lines, Q and R, and P is the transversal. And as you see, it creates 8 different angles here. Okay. So here are some definitions. So exterior angles are going to be outside of the pair of lines. So this is QR outside. So that's why it's 1, 2, 7, and 8. They are outside of the pair of lines. Interior is inside of the pair of lines. So that's why it's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Here they say consecutive interior. I've seen it as same side interior. Right. So consecutive interior means that it's inside, but they're on the same side of the transversal. Okay. So that's why it's 3 and 6, right? They're on the same side of the transversal P. They're on this bottom side, bottom right, right? But they are inside the pair of lines. Okay. So 4 and 5 also count, right? Because they're same side of the transversal. They're on the upwards and to the left of P. And they are inside Q and R. Okay. So 3 and 6 go together as consecutive interior or same side interior, and angle 4 and 5 count, right? So throughout the videos, you're gonna probably hear me say same side interior rather than consecutive interior, but they're the same thing. Okay. The alternate ones, the alternate means the opposite side of the transversal. Okay. So alternate exterior. Exterior is outside the transversal, alternate is opposite side. So 1 and 7, okay, you can see they're both outside of the pair, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal, right? Angle 1 is top, angle 7 is bottom, okay? But they are not a linear pair, right? So opposite, okay? Same thing with 2 and 8, okay? Alternate interior, again, alternate means opposite side of transversal. Interior means inside the pair of lines, but they're not an linear pair, so that's like 3 and 5, and 4 and 6. Okay. And then last one here is corresponding. Corresponding angles, one is exterior, one is interior, but they are on the same side of the transversal. Right? So 1 and 5, 1 is exterior, 5 is interior, right? But they are both on top of the transversal. 2 and 6, 2 is exterior, 6 is interior, but they are both on the bottom of the transversal, right? But they're not a linear pair. 3 and 7, right? 7 is exterior, 3 is interior, they are both on the bottom of the transversal. And 4 and 8, 8 is exterior, 4 is interior, they are both on top of the transversal, but they're not a linear pair. Okay, so now let's do example 3 to identify them. Okay. So the first one here I have is angle 1 and angle 7. So angle 1 and angle 7 here. Right. So in this case, these are my pair of lines and L is my transversal. Angle 1 and angle 7 will be alternate exterior. Alternate exterior. Okay. Alternate because they're on opposite sides on the transversal, right? Angle 1 is top, angle 7 is bottom, but they're both outside of my pair. Okay. Next one is angle 2 and angle 10. Okay. If I'm using these as my pair, angle 2 and 10 will be corresponding angles. Corresponding. Okay. The reason why is they're both on the same side of the transversal, they're on the bottom, but 2 is exterior and 10 is interior. Okay. The next one here is angle 8 and 9. Okay. Angle 8 and 9, using this as my pair and this as my transversal, they are same side interior or consecutive interior. I like to call it same side interior. Right? They're both inside the pair, but they are on the same side of the transversal, right? They're both on top of L. Okay. Angle 3 and 12. So angle 3 is here, angle 12 is here. So if I use this as my pair, right, they're both on the same side of the transversal, they're on the bottom, but one is exterior, one is interior, so that would make it corresponding. All right. So no more highlighters. So now I'm going to circle. So angle 4 and angle 10. Angle 4 is here. Angle 10 is here. So if this is my pair, this is my transversal, they are inside the pair. Right? They're inside the pair, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So that would make them alternate interior. So alternate interior. Okay? And then here, 6 and 11. 6 is here, 11 is here. I use this as my pair. Right? They are both exterior, but they're on opposite side of the transversal. So that would make it alternate exterior. Okay? So why don't you try 3A and 3B on your own and then come check your answer. Okay, so for angle 4 and 11, you should have gotten corresponding. 2 and 8, you should have gotten alternate exterior. 4 and 11 are corresponding because this is your pair. 11 is exterior, but 4 is interior, but they're on the same side of the transversal. They're both on top, so that would make it corresponding. Okay, and then 2 and 8, if you use this as your pair of lines, you can see that 2 and 8 are both on the outside, making them exterior, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal, which would make them alternate exterior. Okay, so that's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.